They thought they were cutting costs. Instead, they severed their only bridge to a multi-million-dollar empire. She left without a fight, but her absence became the loudest downfall Ridgemont ever faced. This is the story of Lauren Cole, the woman they erased, the silence they underestimated, and the echo they can never escape. The calendar invite arrived at 8:46 a.m. on a Thursday. No subject, just Room 5B. Required. It didn't come from her manager. It didn't come with a note. It came from a generic admin alias that Lauren Cole had never seen before. That was all the confirmation she needed. This wasn't a strategy meeting. She arrived at exactly 9 o'clock. Dale was already there, arms crossed, a fox casual stance of control. Beside him sat Serena from her rigid posture, eyes flicking from the wall to the table to anywhere but Lauren. Lauren sat without being asked, folded her hands in her lap, waited. Lauren, Dale began. That voice, sterile professionalism with just a dash of pity. The tone of someone preparing to commit a crime and apologize with a smile. We're restructuring to better position the company for future growth. She didn't blink. She didn't flinch. She'd heard that exact line before, delivered to others, always a preamble to erasure. Your role, Dale continued, has unfortunately been impacted. No apology. No mention of the $24 million in contracts she just finalized. And no acknowledgement that she was the only Arabic-speaking liaison in the entire company. Serena silently pushed a thick envelope across the table. Exit details, severance, and a one-line nod to her service rendered. Lauren reached for it with calm precision, smoothed the hem of her slate gray blazer, and rose. Good luck, Dale offered, like a man tossing a coin into a well he didn't believe had depth. Likewise, she replied, her voice clear, controlled, as if she wasn't the one being erased. She left the room with her head high, heels clicking against the marble floor like punctuation marks in a chapter already closed. They thought they had made a clean cut, but they had severed the artery. They didn't ask who would handle the Emirati delegation arriving Monday morning. Didn't know the difference between a phrase that earned cooperation and one that offended. They didn't care. Lauren had spent 3 years living in Sharjah. 2 of those were embedded in a logistics firm where she learned the backdoor nuances of maritime routing codes, trade etiquette, and negotiation tactics that weren't in any textbook. She spoke fluent Arabic, but more importantly, she understood. No one had asked how she got those contracts. No one ever read the footnotes she wrote in Arabic, contextual cues, silent markers of respect, the things that ensured contracts weren't just legal, they were honorable. What they saw were numbers, 3 accounts, big revenue. What did they assume? That the work was mechanical, translation, coordination, admin stuff. They never saw the crises she diffused, the real-time clause negotiations, the cross-border compliance dance she performed solo. They never even asked. She didn't cry. She didn't scream or spiral. She vacuumed. There was something therapeutic about cleaning. The rhythmic hum of a machine doing what it was designed to do. Unlike the company she just left. By Saturday, her apartment was spotless. Air purified. Curtains washed. The severance envelope was unopened. She pulled the binders from her bookshelf. Real binders, labeled by region, client, regulation type, pages annotated by hand, clues to problems that never made it to the surface. And all of it, every sticky note, every side margin scribble, every coffee-stained highlight was hers. No one asked for these. She made them anyway, because she knew one day it would matter. The first email came Sunday afternoon. Subject: Let's talk. From Mason Trent. She hadn't heard from Mason in nearly a year. Founder of Kleinoscope midsize, rough around the edges healthcare analytics firm. They'd met at a Geneva conference. Back then, Kleinoscope wasn't a player. Not yet. But Mason had asked good questions. Real ones. His message was short. Heard what happened. We're building something sharper. Are you interested in leading it? Lauren didn't hesitate. She replied, yes. Let's talk tomorrow. While Ridgemont scrambled for Monday's delegation meeting, the one Lauren used to architect, she was already reviewing Kleinoscope's infrastructure deck. It was basic, messy, but it was honest. And no buzzwords. No posturing. Just potential. Monday morning, 9 o'clock a.m., four black sedans pulled into Ridgemont's corporate drive. Out stepped the delegation from the Emirates. Pristine, composed, dark wool cloaks over linen, leading them Hamid. He arrived early. That wasn't good. Inside, Dale stood beside the boardroom screen. Celia Ridgemont's coup was notably absent. The room had been staged to impress. Floral arrangements, polished slides, and culturally sensitive snacks. But one thing was missing. Lauren. Hamid didn't sit. He placed both palms on the back of a leather chair. "Where is Miss Cole?" he asked through the translator. Dale blinked, swallowed. "She's no longer with the company." But he never finished. Hamid nodded once, spoke to his advisors in Arabic. They all stood. In no raised voices. In no slammed doors. Just presence then absence. By 9:06. They were gone. Lauren didn't hear about the collapse through official channels. She heard it from Tina in legal text. They walked out, then Gavin's voicemail. "We should have known." Then Eliza's screenshot. Dale, frozen behind the glass wall, watching $24 million evaporate. No postponement. No renegotiation. Gone. By 11 o'clock a.m. Ridgemont was in an emergency meeting. No plan. Just excuses. Lauren didn't respond to Dale's first message, or his second, or his third. She didn't need to, because silence is a language too, and Ridgemont was finally hearing hers. Ridgemont's Monday was chaos disguised in calm. Emails flew behind closed doors. Calls bounced from legal to operations to executive. Nobody had answers, only speculation and caffeine. The Emirati delegation's departure wasn't just abrupt. It was symbolic. A silent indictment of Ridgemont's entire international division. Dale tried to salvage it. He spent the morning rewriting scripts for PR, the afternoon rewriting internal narratives, the evening reviewing Lauren's files, trying to figure out what had gone wrong, how one woman's departure had caused an entire partnership to fall apart. But there were no files to read. Lauren had taken nothing, left nothing. She hadn't needed to. Everything she had built was in her mind, in relationships, in trust. The realization hit like a landslide. She had been their only real asset in that region. Meanwhile, Lauren's Monday was deliberate. She opened Zoom at 10 o'clock a.m. sharp. "Mason." Trent appeared on screen in a navy hoodie, eyes tired but determined. "Glad you said yes," he said. "I've been following your work since Geneva." She didn't smile, but her expression softened. "What's the vision?" "Klinoscope isn't just going after healthcare analytics anymore," Mason said. "We want to rebuild patient engagement infrastructure globally. But we're stuck in translation, literally. Regional teams don't understand how to customize for non-Western markets." Lauren nodded slowly. "You're asking for more than language. You're asking for cultural fluency." "Exactly." They talked for 2 hours about systems, workflows, politics, and regional sensitivities, about doing it differently, doing it right. By the time the call ended, Lauren wasn't just on board. She had already opened a new notebook and titled it Klinoscope Expansion. Tuesday morning, Ridgemont's senior leadership met again. The boardroom air was stiff. The word realignment had already soured in their mouths. "This can't just be a blip," Celia finally said, folding her arms. "We need options." "What about rehiring her?" one VP offered cautiously. Dale flinched. She wouldn't come back, but they tried anyway. Lauren's inbox remained silent. So did her phone. By Wednesday, 3 of the 5 Middle Eastern clients had gone dark. No email replies. No calendar confirmations, only polite, chilly acknowledgments like "we'll review internally" or "thank you for your submission." At Klinoscope, Lauren drafted a preliminary report on how to reposition their platform for the GCC region. She didn't just write strategy. She wrote substance right down to suggested visual design elements that aligned with cultural preferences. Mason reviewed the first draft and sent back one word: brilliant. Thursday, Dale left a voicemail. Lauren, I'm hoping we can talk soon. There's strong interest in Ray establishing a collaborative relationship. He still couldn't say the word mistake. Still couldn't say sorry. Lauren played the message once, then deleted it. Friday, she updated her LinkedIn. Not with a new title, just one line. Strategic Cultural Liaison GCC Markets. Building something new. No photo, no banner, no contact. She wasn't hiding. She was building. On Sunday, she got a text from Hamid's assistant, confirming your leadership in Kaleidoscope's upcoming collaboration. Hamid sends regards. Lauren didn't reply immediately. She took a walk first. Down the waterfront, past the bookstore she used to hide in after long days at Ridgemont, past the coffee shop that knew her name but never spelled it right. She watched the sun dip low, and then she responded. Confirmed. I'll lead. The text was short, but it echoed. Because it marked the moment the world shifted not for her, but around her. Ridgemont, meanwhile, was in free fall. 2 more clients suspended renewals. Their marketing team scrambled to repair reputational damage. Internal Slack channels pulsed with worry. Is it true they walked out? Was it really because of Lauren? Why didn't we see this coming? Because they never looked. Because they never listened. Because they assumed silence meant the absence of value. And now, that silence was all they had left. It started with a contract. Lauren didn't want a job. She didn't want a title. She wanted control. So when Ridgemont's third message arrived, this time an official offer for strategic consulting with flexible compensation parameters, she didn't reply with interest. She replied with conditions. Clause 1. She would not report to Dale. Clause 2. No meetings, no briefings, no handovers. Clause 3. Her role was advisory, remote, independent. Clause 4. Twice her former rate, paid monthly, no delays. Clause 5. Full autonomy in all deliverables. It was not a bridge. It was a containment policy, and Ridgemont accepted it within 48 hours. Not because they wanted to, because they had no leverage left. Lauren didn't celebrate. She didn't brag. She simply got to work. At Kaleidoscope, she led 2 major initiatives, one for GCC compliance integration and the other for culturally adapted patient engagement workflows. Unlike Ridgemont, Kaleidoscope didn't ask her to translate her value into metrics they could understand. They trusted her to lead, and she did. Each meeting she joined was efficient, intentional, strategic. There was no fluff, no posturing, just deliverables and results. Her name appeared directly on partnership documents. Her title, Strategic Cultural Liaison. No vice president. No prefix, just truth. One evening, Mason called unexpectedly. You've been quiet, he said. I've been focused, Lauren replied. He laughed. Fair. But, you okay? She paused. The question surprised her. Yes, she said, but thank you for asking. There was silence. The comfortable kind. We're lucky to have you. You know, Mason said. His voice wasn't performative, just honest. Not just for what you know, but how you use it. Lauren didn't answer right away, but for the first time in weeks, she smiled. Back at Ridgemont, panic had become policy. With every client loss, Dale grew more erratic. He requested hourly updates, called emergency strategy sessions, initiated a rebranding campaign that felt forced and hollow. The team was exhausted. We've lost our voice, one marketing lead said in a closed-door meeting. No, Celia corrected gently. We lost the person who was the voice. One afternoon, an envelope arrived at Lauren's apartment, Ridgemont letterhead. A formal apology from the board. It was brief, vague, hollow. She tore it in half without reading the second paragraph. Her work at Kaleidoscope grew. They expanded to Kuwait, then Oman, then Jordan. Each new region brought its challenges, language subtleties, legal codes, and generational expectations. Lauren handled them all, not with ego, but with fluency in culture, in silence, in substance. She never raised her voice, never tweeted a clap back, never shared her story on LinkedIn. She didn't need to. Her results spoke. Mason noticed. He started inviting her into executive discussions. Then, strategic planning. The board prep. One afternoon, he said, "We're adding a new title to your profile. Partner." Lauren blinked. "You sure? You earned it 6 months ago," he replied. "I'm just catching up." They went for coffee the next week. Not a meeting, just coffee. They talked about books, films, their first jobs. The time Mason failed a pitch because he forgot the word for compliance in Arabic. Lauren laughed genuinely for the first time in a long time. There was something unspoken between them. Attention maybe, or recognition, but neither of them rushed it. They didn't have to. Because when trust is built properly, it doesn't need urgency, just clarity. Back at Ridgemont, the silence was loud. They tried another pitch to a new Saudi partner. It flopped. The feedback came into lines. "We appreciate your submission. However, we do not proceed without cultural assurance." Translation: not without Lauren. The room was glass and chrome, sleek, modern, empty. A new delegation was expected in 5 minutes. This time, Ridgemont had flown in consultants from London, set up an Arabic interpreter, printed full-color binders with regional flags on the cover. They had even practiced pronunciation drills the night before, but one thing was still missing. Lauren Cole and the new delegates noticed. They flipped through the binders, nodded politely, and listened to Dale's rehearsed welcome, but the air was cold. "We appreciate your presentation," said the senior delegate. "However, we were under the impression Miss Cole would be facilitating." Dale smiled stiffly. "She's no longer affiliated with Ridgemont. But I assure you, then I'm afraid this conversation is already concluded," the delegate replied, closing the binder with finality. No one raised a voice, but everyone heard the message. At Declinoscope, Lauren was finalizing the next partnership brief. This one was with Bahrain. She sat in a quiet corner of a co-working space, coffee in hand, sunlight pouring through the tall windows. Her phone buzzed. It was Mason. "The board just approved your full partner equity," he said. "Effective immediately." Lauren blinked. "That was fast." "Not really," he said. "You've been writing the playbook for a year. We're just naming the author now." Her inbox was full. Consulting invitations, requests for panels, book deals. People wanted her story, but she wasn't ready to share it. Not yet, because the story wasn't finished. She was still building it. One afternoon, she got a handwritten note and a return address. "Just, I didn't know what I had, but I see it now." She placed it in a drawer, not out of bitterness, out of boundaries. Months passed. Lauren traveled to Abu Dhabi, then to Munich, then to Sao Paulo. Each time she stepped into a room, the atmosphere shifted, not because she demanded attention, but because her reputation preceded her. She wasn't just respected, she was trusted, and in the world of global strategy, trust was gold. At a conference in Barcelona, she stood on stage to deliver a keynote. Behind her, the slide simply read, "Cultural competence is a strategic asset." She spoke for 42 minutes. No buzzwords, no bravado, just truth. When she finished, the applause lasted longer than expected. Later that evening, Mason joined her at a rooftop dinner. "You look different up there," he said. "How so?" "Not just powerful, whole." She looked out over the city. "I think I am." Back home, Clinoscopes expansion reports were trending upward. They had cracked the Middle Eastern market. No gimmicks, no tricks, just trust. Lauren's name was now whispered in competitor boardrooms like a missing blueprint. They didn't know how she did it. They just knew that without her, they were invisible. On a rainy Sunday, she walked past Ridgemont's building. She didn't stop, didn't glance up. She simply kept walking, because there was nothing left in that building that belonged to her, and everything ahead was hers to claim. The echo of her name wasn't bitter. It was powerful, because Lauren Cole had become more than a former employee. She was a benchmark, a reminder, a name they would never replace.